That was really cool. I mean, we drive into town, and I there was so many businesses with "Go Lily King" or "Congratulations Lily King." I mean, it was like every single block, and the community pride in her was pretty awesome to see. And then when she'd walk into like a TV station, you know, and get a standing ovation from those folks that got to follow her, that was just really special to see how much a part of it the media and the community were was just really apparent.
In that interview from Michelle Tafoya, when did you find out about it, and what was your reaction when you heard?
Well, I was in the warm down pool, and the USA Media guy, Scott Campbell, came up to me and he said, "Well, the cat's out of the bag." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Lily said something." And I go, "What did she say?" And he goes, "No, I don't really know yet, but something happened." And so I really didn't think too much of it. And then I started hearing it from more and more people. And I walked back to see, you know, where she was, because she didn't come out for a really long time. And then a bunch of the media, like Pat Forty of Yahoo Sports, they all started talking to me about it. And they asked me straight up right there. They said Lily made comments about doping and how she's not a fan. And I figured it out at that point and just decided to support it. But that's kind of how I figured it out. But I think the USA Swimming staff, and especially the swimmers, they were really happy that someone said something, because we saw Mac Horton of Australia stand up against the Sun Yang, and at least he was very well received by countries that are, you know, that don't dope. So, you know, we just went with it.
Tough to get them back to the mundane realities of life in college, and going to class and training after the sixth grades.
You know, nothing for anybody that went to that meet will ever be the same, because you're forever an Olympian, and that's a really select group of people. Just walking around the village, you know, and there's like 10,000 athletes, and you're one of them just right out of the gate, that changes you. And then if you go down there and you know, you're fortunate enough to win an Olympic medal, nothing's really ever the same. But learning how to handle that success, I think, is going to be pretty important, and using it, you know, in a positive way to, you know, for their families, themselves, their school. That'll be kind of what we hope that they can do. But you can see that there's just profound differences. Like, life's just different now for all of us.
It's different for you in the sense that, how has this changed the profile of your program, how it's perceived? It might be too early to gauge that, but you've probably gotten some reaction. How much might it help recruiting? All of that. Talk about that.
Well, a lot more people want to talk to us, and that's really exciting. We're probably not going to feel it on the American side till the next cycle, because they tend to move a little bit quicker. But it's the number of emails and text and just people that want to talk to us now is just so different than it ever was. And not just it started to change having Olympians. But then what they did down there, the 6 Olympic medals, I don't think anybody saw that coming. The coaches were joking with me, because we were all rookies, and they're like, I wish I was like, you know, got to experience my rookie season like that at the Olympics. We feel really fortunate that it turned out the way it did, because it could have gone the other way really easily.
Swimmers or their parents or coaches contacting you about your interest in that?
Oh yeah, just wonderful upswing there. You know, I think that's about probably all I'm allowed to say from an NCAA compliance standpoint. But it's you know, we're moving up the food chain, so to speak, in a real positive way, and we've had to scratch and claw our way for good people, and I think things have changed for the long haul. I need to get my tattoo soon. Okay, but I do not believe Cody Miller has gotten his, so I'm in good shape there, and I don't think Lily King's had any time to get hers. So, but Blake Peroni beat us all. He's looking good, and I think the outline version of the Olympic rings is the sharpest way to go. So, I'll be doing that here locally, and I'm going to invite anybody that wants to come watch, whatever that entails. You know, back in my day, you got it over on your pec over your heart, and right now that's where I'm leaning, because I saw Blake got his on his bicep, and his bicep does that, but my bicep does this, and I don't know how I don't know how those Olympic rings would look sagging like that. So I think the pec might be the best place to do that at this point in my life.
Ray, what attributes enabled Lily to win the gold?
Her competitiveness, but probably her confidence, because there are a few things. There's reasons everywhere around you at a meet like that, or at a competition, where doubt creeps in. What other people are doing. I mean, there were so many distractions. The whole Yulia, fiasco was a distraction every day, and that really, really bothered a lot of kids in that particular race. But she's a pretty driven person, and it's like Tiger Woods. When he was at his best, I read books about him, and he could see the putt going in. Like he was able to see like a little movie clip, and he saw the putt going in. And that kind of imagery, and she just saw herself making the Olympic team and winning the gold. And she did things that lend itself to that. So just that self-belief, like she literally talked herself in to what was going to happen. So that positive self-talk, I think, is key. Just God-given confidence. I said this before, but she's a gunslinger. She just has no fear. And it might have been just youthful, lack of fear, but she's just not afraid of anybody. It's amazing. You don't see that. We could all learn from that. Just going into a situation and laser focus.
Ray, how much of a comfort level was it with you, or for swimmers and the young kids, for you to be there? Or maybe it's a better question to ask them, but at the same time, how did you feel about your role with those kids while they were involved in the Olympics?
Cody Miller's he's our laboratory rat on that. So he's been making trips for quite some time now, and we'd send him off for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. I think last summer he went to World Championships in Kazan and was gone for at least 4 weeks, if not 5, away from us. And we tried to figure out how to do that better, without being there. And we knew going in that we wanted to have a coach down there, and because we knew there was an advantage, and we knew that you'd have to put multiple people on the team, and that they'd have to be highly ranked in the world. So to answer your question, we figured out really last summer that if we're going to do anything at the Olympics, let alone getting people there, we need to have a coach go with them, and you got to have strength in numbers. And luckily it worked out that way. But there's just stuff that comes up that you can't foresee, where having somebody that's completely in your corner is just a huge asset. And if you don't have the coach there, then you're on your own. And Anjay, you should talk to Anjay about what it's like not to have your coach at the meet, because it's tough. And he just went through that. And, I mean, we sent him workouts the whole summer, but it's not easy, and it does affect performance. So the kids on the U.S. team that had their coach on staff, they all performed at a high level, and then it was sort of hit or miss after that. And USA Swimming is aware of that, so they're basically trying to get anybody with a chance of a medal, especially a gold, they do everything they can to get their coach on the staff. And there was just maybe 1 or 2 exceptions where that didn't happen. But for the most part, they got the job done there.
What are your emotions when you put on a USA shirt versus putting on an IU shirt?
Yeah, I feel a lot of pride for both. But putting on the USA stuff, that never gets old. And the Olympic stuff is just so special. Like Blake and I think we're going through some of the fitting together, and he said that the closing ceremonies or the opening ceremonies outfit was like $1,000. And then the whole package of stuff the athletes got was like $20,000, all with just, U.S. Olympic team on it. And I know Kennedy probably feels the same about Canada, but it's just such a special feeling, and knowing that so few people ever get to do that. I mean, I'm 49, and that was the first Olympics I'd ever been to, and I felt like I was a kid in a candy store. So it was great. Well, luckily we have one of the better compliance departments in the NCAA, and Fred, that's one of his tenets. 5 tenets is play by the rules. So, but in doing that, we've got a wonderful support staff, and like I called Kristen Borelli, our contact from Rio, and the first thing she said to me was, "I can't believe I'm getting this call." Like, that was really cool that she was excited to, for us to share some stories. But then she goes, "What do you need?" And she started to work on some stuff right off the bat. So really, they're there to protect us, and most importantly, to protect the student athletes. And that's just kind of working ahead, because the NCAA is still kind of an amateur-driven endeavor. So, they're just there to protect us. And luckily, we're in a good situation at Indiana to be able to do that. But it's just different having, some high-profile Olympic athletes for them. And, I couldn't be more pleased with the kind of support we're getting.
The first thing really for Katie Ledeck, she goes to this 5 gold medals, she goes to Stanford, she can't make a cent off her name. Should they be allowed through the NCAA to make a couple of bucks off of what they've accomplished and their name?
I think they'll eventually get there, because the Olympic Games used to be the same way, and you had to be a straight up amateur. But I think the NCAA is eventually going to get there. They just have to figure out how to do it. But right now, those are the rules, and we got to abide by them. But I think, you'd get the Michael Phelps and more Katie Ledeckis to go to college, which is awesome, because then we get to, see them as student athletes. And Katie really wants to be a student athlete, and she's willing to give up quite a bit to make that happen. But yeah, I think it's eventually going to go in that direction, but that's just my opinion.
20 years from now, somebody mentions the 2016 Olympics. What are the sort of salient memories that are going to hit your head first? The images or the memories or sounds, there's probably more than one. What's going to come to mind first?
The first thing that comes to mind was just the first kind of day and a half of the meet, and watching Cody Miller work his way through the 3 100 breaststrokes. So he was the first race for us, prelim 100 breast, and then just watching him kind of go through the semifinal, and then Blake doing such a good job, and then at the end of the day, Blake's a gold medalist. And, for him to go from where he was at the beginning of the summer to making his second best event, and I go, "Blake, you're a gold medalist," and he was just sort of stunned. But then seeing what Cody did in finals, I've never seen an athlete celebrate a bronze medal with more passion. And I finally got to watch that on TV, I think the other night. I pulled it up on demand, and it had the whole 9 yards of that. And it was really cool. I now know why people really got attracted to that, because you know, any Olympic medal is pretty cool. And we all had to hold Cody's, and because that's the first one we got our hands on, and just his passion for that, and it was so honest, so real, like what that meant to that young man. And that kind of led to what Lily King did, you know, in the 100 breaststroke. And, you know, I think I described that as a good versus evil situation, and it really was. I am so angry with how, you know, what happens in sports. Sports is where, you know, you have the opportunity to do something that, you know, if you work harder than somebody else, then you have a chance to beat them. And for somebody to cut corners and to take a PED that enhances performance, it's just not right. And, you know, to have to swim against somebody like that, but then to beat them, that was like vindication to the 10th exponent. And everybody felt that. They felt it with Mac Horton and the Chinese swimmer, but even more so with Yulia. I mean, and the Brazilian people are pretty honest people, and you couldn't hear it, but I've never heard more booing out of like 15,000 people, and they just disapproved. And then, you know, it just worked out, thankfully. You know, the right person won. But I'll never forget that first couple days of the Olympic Games. Like, it was surreal.
Earlier that you didn't think anybody saw the 6 medals, Olympic medals coming. Even so, was there still some sort of sign or indication from your guys' pre-Olympic workouts where you felt like, hey, we've really got a chance to be successful at this, no matter what level it's
To be honest with you, I've never had. I had no idea. And you know, they were doing some good stuff in practice, but, you know, there were also lots of times where you thought, wow, we could be in real trouble. You know, like Blake had to stand up and do a relay a week out to decide, you know, who might be let into that relay, like Michael Phelps, and he had the slowest split. And the problem is we're just not really good a week out. And I told Blake that afterward, but that was really hard. But Blake's got such a strong constitution that he didn't let that affect him. But, you know, Lily, Cody, you know, I'm sure all the other swimmers that are here, you know, I saw them every day. You know, we had some sessions that were like, wow, that wasn't really good at all. And Lily said one time that, thank God I can swim again. You know, there's just times where you're not sure if you're doing the right thing. And we were in the pool like after everybody else, time and time again. And it makes you doubt yourself. And then some of the coaches come over and they're like, are you going to let him out? And we're just trying to follow our plan. And that's a good example of, you know, had you not been there, whoever was there would have let him out of the water. And then all of a sudden you're doing something that's not going to work. But you know, I didn't know what to expect. But when we left for Atlanta, I told myself that, you know, we're gonna have such a good time. I'm gonna enjoy myself and have you know, really just take everything in. And I set everything aside. You know, there were coaches down there recruiting, some of my rival coaches, and I didn't do one thing of recruiting. It was all into those athletes. And I just didn't want to go away from that meet not knowing if you're ever going to get back with any regrets. Thank you.